Hey everyone. I know with these Facebook Live events, it takes a couple minutes for everybody to get connected and to log on. Feel free to share the live stream on the Facebook page. Go ahead and hit share and share it with your friends, your community. We'll give a couple seconds for everybody to join the live so that we don't miss anything, any of the great speakers that we have joining us today. I am Lindsey Musick. My name is Lindsey Musick. I am the mayor of COLONTOWN. COLONTOWN is the support community that is a part of Powtown. So for colorectal cancer patients who are dealing with the disease, and also for caregivers. So patients and caregivers come to COLONTOWN for a place to share about whatever we're experiencing as patients and caregivers, and to go through as we go through treatment and all stages of dealing with this disease. So it's a community where we can come together. We can get information about the disease. We can get support. We build friendships. We build community. And you're going to find out so much more. I have incredible folks from the community here with us today to join and share exactly what COLONTOWN is, and the power of COLONTOWN, and the magic that happens in COLONTOWN. I'm just so grateful for the community myself. I am a single mom in Eastern Kentucky, and I was diagnosed in 2018 with stage 4, very advanced stage 4 CRC. I had 13 liver mets when I was diagnosed. So it's a similar story for a lot of us. A lot of us, were shell-shocked by a diagnosis and didn't know where to go or who to turn to. Talking about colorectal cancer can be somewhat taboo at times, so it was hard to find anybody that knew how to help me or support me until I found COLONTOWN. I found a whole community of people that were willing to walk alongside me and give me the resources and help me in all, support my family in all ways by with information, with friendships, with all kinds of different groups that we can go to for specific situations and to deal with that. So again, I just want to remind, as people are logging on, feel free to hit the share button and share with your groups. We just want to invite some of our leaders and participants in the community to share about the different programs that we have. We very highly value privacy in COLONTOWN, so it's not often that we come out to the public and share what goes on inside COLONTOWN. So the members that are sharing today have chosen to share a little bit on the public platform in order to raise awareness for what we go through, and also to raise awareness about the programs that we offer and how it can be an asset to anyone who's dealing with colorectal cancer in their family. My first guest is Lorelei, and she's joining us today. She's a caregiver in the community and a member of COLONTOWN. She's fairly new to the community, so I thought it would be good to get her perspective and her story on what COLONTOWN has been for her so far, and how COLONTOWN has helped her family. And the thing about COLONTOWN is we help each other. So everything that what I receive as much from the other members, as it's very community oriented. So we give to each other, and it's one of the things I value most about COLONTOWN. So Lorelei, go ahead.
Yeah,
share a little bit about yourself.
Thanks so much, Lindsey. I'm so excited to be here sharing this. I've been telling everybody I know and come across about COLONTOWN, reaching out all over the internet, finding people who might not already be members and trying to get them to join. So I'm so excited to share our story and help spread awareness. So I am Lorelei Menser. I live in Northern Virginia, and I am caregiver and spouse to my husband, Patrick Menser, who is age 36 with stage 4 colorectal cancer with liver metastasis. We were originally hit with this diagnosis last January 2021. We had just bought a house the year prior. We had just gotten pregnant. I was just about 2 months pregnant when they found his cancer at stage 3. 3A, and everything was really straightforward that round. We sought second opinions and tried to get as much information as we can. But I think, as everybody knows, when you're hit with something like this, you're drinking from a fire hose. You're just trying to get through. There's so much of an emotional component that you sometimes tend to just go along with what the doctors say and trust in that. And we thought we were good to go. He had his surgery, he had chemo, and we were done by June and had our baby in August, and everything looked great. And then he had some scans in December, and we found the 5 liver tumors. And we got our results electronically on a Friday evening, which is not ideal. So you can imagine we spent the whole weekend just diving into every resource we could find online. And it just hit me to jump on Facebook and see what was out there. And I stumbled across another group and saw a thread of somebody recommending checking out COLONTOWN. And I put in my request. I think it was Sunday evening. And I think within 2 hours, everybody had hit me with just all this guidance to add me into the relevant neighborhoods of COLONTOWN, as we call them, related to Patrick's diagnosis, and get me all the information I needed. So if you can imagine getting hit with something like that on a Friday evening, being just in all of this stress and craziness over the weekend, and then by Sunday night having some, a little bit of light shining on everything and giving us some direction with where to go, it was an incredible salvation for my mental health. By Monday morning, I had made calls and set up second opinion with the right doctors, and we had this new wonderful plan of action. So we went that day to his local and current, or at the time, oncologist, and she gave us the chemo for life prognosis, which is very stressful. She did mention the possibility of surgery, but still chemo for life after that. And we already knew about all these wonderful advancements with the HAI pump and Dr. Nancy Kemeny up at Memorial Sloan Kettering, and knew exactly where we wanted to go. And we were very fortunate to get in quickly and have a really clear direction of what we wanted. So we went from being completely terrified, looking at some scary, awful number of a 5-year survival rate, to having a real game plan and getting appointments set up very quickly. And I can't tell you, having all of that available to us. If you can imagine getting hit with a diagnosis and finding a community where other people have your exact same situation or something very, very similar, and you can see these survivor stories, you can see information on treatment plans, you can get someone's real perspective on what it was like to go through certain options. There's more than one way to treat this, and people have their own preferences, and you can only learn so much by Googling it all, but having those real firsthand accounts was incredibly valuable to us. And by that, within just a few days, as soon as we got into COLONTOWN and found everything and started digesting all this information, we immediately had such a more positive outlook on everything. And, it then became like this, we have a plan of action, we're knocking off these things on a checklist, and we're going to get through this, and feeling like we have that real possibility now. So I'm happy to report that Patrick had surgery at the end of January. All liver tumors were removed successfully, one ablated, and clean margins, and everything looks really good. He actually just recently had a PET scan for some other reasons, and we wanted to see what else was present in his body, and that looked clear. So we are currently, he's going through chemo. He's actually in the chair right now, probably watching this. Oh. And we are, getting through this ongoing treatment and hoping to have things continue to go well. But the incredible thing is having the community of COLONTOWN giving us what we need to really be empowered in our own healthcare decisions and be able to be our own care advocates. I work in the health insurance world, and I know just enough to be dangerous on that side of things, but there are just so many, aspects to cancer treatment and so many things out there. And you want to feel like you can really partner with your doctor to understand and make informed decisions in your treatment. And that's what COLONTOWN has given us, is that ability to make those decisions and ask the right questions, and even to challenge doctors a little bit. We have a local oncologist here we're working with too, a new one, We parted ways with the original one. And just to be able to say, what about this test? We're seeing other people getting this test that we feel might be helpful for us. Can we get this? And we're finding maybe if one doctor won't do it, the other one will for us, and getting everything we can. Information is power in something like this, and being able to just have as much as we can get to put all the pieces together and feel confident that we have not left any stones unturned in figuring out how to take care of this for Patrick. And we've got our healthy, happy 6-month-old baby, and we're dealing with all the ins and outs of being new parents. And I really can't tell you what the community has meant, the friendships we've made, even linking up with people, while Patrick's up there getting treatment. It's just been incredible. And every weekend there are these wonderful survivor stories, and I love to sit and drink my coffee and we read those out to each other. And just such a more positive outlook on all of this. We really feel like we are capable of, conquering whatever comes next for us here. So I'm so grateful. And I hope that this message rings out loud for tons of people, and we keep growing this community, because it's incredible. And if there was a community like this for every diagnosis, I just can't imagine how much more empowered people would be in their treatment plans, and it makes a world of difference.
Thank you so much for sharing. It always is helpful to remind us of what we're doing here and that it has an impact. One of the things you mentioned was talking with your doctors and dealing with coordinating your team with the local doctor plus the outside doctor. And I found personally that that's one of the things that COLONTOWN has helped. Patients also have a voice, and that's what we care about. And we can help push science forward and help be a voice in our hospitals that may not be as up to date on some of the things by saying, I have legit scientific backed research here that I would like you to look at. And doctors that are open to that, we're helping other patients by advocating for our own case.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, something as simple as he went through the same chemo regimen last year with the oxaliplatin drug that causes, cold sensitivity and neuropathy. And the COLONTOWN community has given us some resources and ideas to combat those side effects of chemotherapy that we had no idea about last year, and would have made that so much easier for him. So I only wish we had found you all, last January when we first got that scary diagnosis, but we're here now, and we've gotten so many benefits from this community, and even down to helping cover costs for our second opinion. There's a wonderful second opinion fund I think we'll be discussing a little bit later, and we were able to take advantage of that and help with some of the costs to get that visit covered. So
I'm so glad you were able to use that. Yeah, actually, Chastity is next, and she's going to cover the Second Opinion Fund. So it was a perfect segue into the next speaker. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course, thanks,
We
Lindsey.
look forward to more updates on how you and Patrick are doing.
Thanks.
Chastity is going to join us now, and Chastity is recently went through our Empowered Patient Leader training too, which we will cover some about in a little bit. And she was able to utilize the Second Opinion Fund that was created by the Felix Liu family in honor of his wife. So again, it's an example of COLONTOWN community seeing needs in the community and wanting to help meet those needs. And so Felix has worked hard to create this fund to help patients achieve and reach second opinions that might otherwise be out of grasp. So Chastity's here to talk to us a little bit about the Second Opinion Fund. Hey,
Hi, Lindsey. Thank you for having me. So just to go over, my name is Chastity. I'm from New Hampshire. I was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer in April of 2020. When my husband and I met our first oncologist, she pretty much said there was no cure for stage 4 colon cancer. She said that I would be on chemotherapy for life, that I would not ever get to have surgery, that I would not be able to see my kids, who were at the time 5 and 7, grow up. I wouldn't be able to see them go to their prom, watch them graduate from high school, walk them down the aisle when they got married. So they would be essentially growing up without their mother. And I was not going to accept that. So I immediately jumped into the Facebook world. I need to find out everything that there was to know about colon cancer. I had a friend whose husband has colon cancer, and she introduced me to ColonTown. So I really enjoyed looking through ColonTown because there are different groups on there, and I was able to connect with people going through the same things that I was going through. They had the same side effects. Some of them had the same surgeries. I was able to easily ask them questions, and I met a lot of amazing friends through ColonTown. I was also able to find out about the Second Opinion Project. And this project is for any patient who would like to get a second opinion and maybe needs some help with financial resources. They'll help you pay for co-pays, deductibles, plane tickets, hotel stays, gas, parking, pretty much anything at all that you need help with in getting a second opinion. And so the first step was to fill out an application, which was super easy to do. And I heard back right away and I was accepted. And then you go and do your second opinion and then submit receipts afterwards for reimbursement. Everybody that I spoke with through the Second Opinion Project was very nice. They were very helpful. A couple of months after my second opinion, they came back to me and asked me if I had any other receipts that I wanted to submit for reimbursement. So my first oncologist, as I had said a little bit earlier, I was not very happy with their direction of my prognosis and what I was going to be having to do. And so I sought out a second opinion and got Dr. Rubinson through Dana-Farber as my oncologist. And he was amazing. He stood by me the whole entire time. He knew that surgery was what I wanted. I wanted to grow up to see my kids grow up. And he knew that I wasn't going to accept no for an answer. And so he put me on the most aggressive chemo that there was. And with that, I was able to get to that liver surgery that I needed to do in order to cure the cancer. So I ended up going in for a liver surgery. I had a PVE. That was the first step, and that failed. So when that failed, the liver surgeon that I was seeing through Dana-Farber said, there's nothing else we can do for you. There's no other liver surgeries. You're going to be on chemo for life. And I wasn't going to accept that. So that's when I went to the Second Opinion Project and filled out that application. And I got my second opinion through Mass General. Dr. Tanabe is a liver surgeon, amazing liver surgeon. And he actually did a liver surgery on me called the ALPS. And that, along with my colon surgery, got me to NED, which is where I'm at now. So no evidence of disease. Yay. But I want to be here without my amazing surgeons, oncologists, my family and friends for all their support, ColonTown, because you guys are amazing and helpful and so friendly in the groups. And it just helps to know that there's other people out there going through the same things that you are going through. And then the Second Opinion Project, because there are a lot of people who can't afford a hotel stay or a plane ticket for that second opinion. And that stops a lot of people from going to get those second opinions that sometimes are really much needed because somebody else may be willing to do what your original team will not do.
That's right. I mean, personally, it took ColonTown prodding me over a year to go get a second opinion. I was a very slow learner when I joined the community. I was terrified of everything. I was terrified. I don't know. Why would I question my doctor locally? He said I wouldn't be surgical and never be surgical. He's a doctor. He has the training. Why should I question that? But ColonTown taught me about all of the options, and I went shaking into my second opinion appointment and spouted out everything I'd learned. And just, and I'm so glad that now we have this resource, thanks to generous donors, to support patients also with the finances to make that happen, because patients already face the fear of what they're going to learn at second opinions. Being able to take away any of the hindrances and the outside stresses is one way that we can support patients. And I'm just so glad that you've been able to take advantage of the program. And I look forward to more patients being able to take a part of it and be a part of it. And the ALPS surgery it's something that you can only really get it's a really high level surgery, and getting that information in COLONTOWN is one of the few places that will have clear support for that. So you give me all the chills.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chastity. It looks like we are going to have Joe join us next. Joe Bullock also is an EPL grad from last year, and Joe is very active in the cancer community, the CRC cancer community, with multiple different organizations. But Joe found a passion for a need to be met within COLONTOWN and has really stepped up to support these families that have unique needs with our COLONTOWN Junior group. So Joe's going to tell us a little bit about what brought him and inspired him to step up and help support our COLONTOWN Junior community. Hi, Joe.
Well, hey, thank you, Lindsay. Yes, it all started, and I want to give a shout out to Jane Vincent because today is Jane Vincent's birthday.
Yes.
It all started with our connection with Jane back in mid 2019. I mean, I had been a part of COLONTOWN for about a year prior to that. I was diagnosed in May of 2018 with stage 3 colon cancer. And I really got the benefits of COLONTOWN, and COLONTOWN being that emotional support and peer-to-peer education, which I think is kind of our secret sauce. It's what we all love about the community. And Jane started posting about her grandson, Jaden Oaks. And she was just asking questions in the community, but we suddenly realized that for a pediatric patient, that's a very different reality. Their treatments are very different from adults. So as I started working with Jane and Jaden, they were coming to Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 10 minutes from my house to have a procedure, his HIPEC procedure at UNC Children's Hospital. So I started developing a relationship with them over the months. And I also have a great friend, Aaron Duffy Wood, who passed away last year. Mm-hmm. And Aaron was kind of nudging at me, you need to get more involved in the community. You have such a great voice. I want to encourage you to do that. And we were in a support group, and I remember just kind of avoiding Aaron at the local support group at times. I knew she was going to ask me that question. But as things went on, as I myself became NED, I realized I wanted to be more active in the community. I did want to become more in a leadership role. And as Jane had this incredible need, she started reaching out to other families. Jane was kind of looking for her own peers because she realized that her treatment for her child was much different than an adult. And so probably about mid 2019, we started having conversations about there just was a need for that. So when I did the Empowered Patient Leader workshop and graduated, the question asked was, would there be a community that you would like to start? And I thought about it for a couple of days, and I realized the need was very great. There was about 15 families across the country that was looking for this kind of support. They were looking for a community. They were looking for that emotional support because a lot of organizations were helping these families, but there was no emotional support. There was no connection within the families themselves. So I just happened to casually mention it to one of our cabinet members, Jason Randall. And as you know, you don't casually mention something to Jason. No. And so within like a couple of days, I think he'd reached out to you and the cabinet, and COLONTOWN Junior became a reality. We started out as just a small parent pavilion. We call the parent pavilion group, which is the caregiver group. Over the last few months, we have expanded. We have our own prayer group where we offer a faith-based group, much like the adult group has in COLONTOWN. Mm-hmm. We started an ostomy group because a lot of our kids have ostomies, and that's a different reality for a child compared to an adult. So the families are able to connect and talk about their child's diagnosis having an ostomy. We've also recently started adding parents that have children with FAP because they also have ostomies. So we're seeing that as a need in the community. So we're expanding the community to offer it to those families as well. We've also added a grief group. So our little community is expanding and building out over the last year, and just giving these offerings the same way it's offered in the adult version of COLONTOWN. We're just seeing this as a need for the community, as an offering.
I know that one of the things that leaders in COLONTOWN often have to juggle is we're a patient-led community and caregiver-led
Right.
community. So everybody who
Right.
is in leadership has also had the experience of being a patient or a caregiver or involved directly with CRC at some level. What are
Yes.
some of the, is there a highlight over the last year that you'd like to point out that really like solidified for you how important this COLONTOWN Junior group is for COLONTOWN?
I think it's because of what was given to me. Because when I met, talk about Charles, I was talking about Charles Griffin Jr. and his glow stick talk, because that was really, I remember when I was first diagnosed and I heard him speak on Lee Silverstein's podcast, We Have Cancer, and I learned about COLONTOWN Jr. from him. And he and I never met in person, but I casually messaged back and forth with him. And he told me, look, you're stage 3, your cancer is totally curable. But we need men to stand up. We need men to use their voices. And I told him, I said, when I get through this, when I become NED, I will take a closer look at that and try to get more involved in the community. And I didn't for a few months after being NED. I kind of want to take a step back and sort of you just kind of want to recover from it all. And I did that. And then when I learned of Charles's passing, it reminded me of the promise I made to him. So that kind of, that gave me the passion to want to move forward, to give back to the community the way it had given to me when I had those questions about my diagnosis, when I needed emotional support, when I needed to talk to really other men in the group who were going through this and how they would lose their identity as a husband or a father, and how did they deal with that, and having that. So I wanted to bring that to these families, because they didn't have that kind of connection. They needed that emotional support. And I saw the need, and I knew COLONTOWN could fit that need because the model was already there. I just needed to move it into the pediatric realm, So that's where all the passion came from. And my work with Jaden Oaks and realizing that he needed that support. And I had that personal connection because they lived here. And so, and I wanted to continue that in his honor and as well, in memory, of course.
Right. One thing that we've just started is a fund specifically for COLONTOWN Junior. So just to inform folks who are not in the community, COLONTOWN is run mostly, we have over 100 volunteers. It's mostly run by patients and caregivers who are volunteers. But it is also a community that is managed by the nonprofit of Powtown. So donations made to Powtown help to give resources to the community. And we recently started a fund specifically for the COLONTOWN Junior families and to help support that program. So anybody who, donates can donate specifically to COLONTOWN Junior or to the overall COLONTOWN program. Plus, a lot of the things that we discuss in the programs today, you could donate specifically for those programs, but any of the donations to Powtown, go to make COLONTOWN a spectacular, a place that's supportive of patients and caregivers. But there is a specific fund just now for COLONTOWN Junior families because they need a unique kind of support, and the leaders have a different kind of challenge than the rest of the community. Some of the challenges are the same, but some are unique, and we try to support our leaders the best that we can in the families that need the resources. So thank you, Joe, so much.
Exactly.
We look forward to seeing, more and more. It's one of those things we always talk about. We hate that there's a need, but we're glad that we're here to offer the support for those.
And I know the feedback from the families are they appreciate the support because they all tell me it's like nothing they've ever had. And any family that comes in tells me that exact thing. The one thing they were lacking was the emotional support, because they can get the doctors, they can get the information, but to have that peer-to-peer connection has meant the world to them. And that's the feedback I'm getting from the families.
Okay, I appreciate it, Joe. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
We will hear more, I'm sure, down the road of things happening.
That's right.
On Junior.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Next, we are going to speak with Jennifer Eldridge, who's also an EPL graduate. Just going to throw that in with everybody.
Yep. Last summer, I think.
Yep, last summer we did a virtual EPL program, and Jennifer was part of that. Now she's become a part of the COLONTOWN University content development team. So she's here to share. COLONTOWN University has just like taken off with all kinds of information and resources for patients. It's like it's already got a ton of great stuff, but there is so much more coming. And so it's hard for me to speak about it knowledgeably because it is evolving faster than I can keep up with. But that's why we have Jennifer here, and she's going to share. You're in England currently, is that correct?
I am. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
I know you spent some time in Arizona, but now you're in England, back in England. So Jennifer is going to share with us a little bit about the resources available through COLONTOWN University.
Yeah. So I'm also a patient. Just so everyone's aware, like it's not just the volunteers, the employees, like most of us are patients and caregivers as well. So it's really, really a patient-centered organization. I was diagnosed in summer 2020 with stage 4. I'm still going. I haven't reached any D yet, but hoping to get there. Still going. It took me a while to find COLONTOWN. When I was first diagnosed, I just wanted to go and bury myself in the sand because I was 40 years old, 2 young children, and they're telling you that you're not gonna live to see your children start school. You're certainly not going to live to see them grow up. They're going to be growing up without a mom. Like, all of these crazy thoughts running through your head. And for months, all I wanted to do was bury myself in the sand. And I didn't even know how to get out of there. And slowly but surely, with support and time, and you start coming out that. And I found COLONTOWN through a mutual friend. Joined the community and was just totally blown away by the support, the amount of resources, knowledgeable people, and people that just go out of their way to help. That's all they want to do. They just want to help. And it was fantastic. And then when the EPL came along, I just wanted to get more involved. And then saw this job. I wasn't working. I'd actually been a elementary school teacher before. Left the classroom just because I felt it was way too much to manage with everything that was going on. And saw this job advertisement for someone to work on the website. And I thought, do you know what? I've never written for a website before, but the skills they've listed, I've got those. Might as well apply. And they put together this amazing team. It's one patient, one caregiver, and an experienced science writer who's also quite knowledgeable about the tech side. And we've all come together. We all contribute to the content. And our very first project, which Lauren, if you could maybe pull up the website and I can kind of show people, our very first project was basically trying to organize content to create a CRC 101, so a guide for newly diagnosed patients. And if you can see there, sort of in the far left side that's up on the screen, you've got the CRC 101 Learning Center, which is what we've been working really, really hard on. And then, I don't know, Lauren, if you want to scroll down and just click on it, the CRC 101 Learning Center. Oh, there it is. Perfect. And so basically it talks you through just very like basics. What do you need to know when you're first diagnosed? That was really where we started. And then it goes on to cover all of the basic information that you need to know as a newly diagnosed patient. And actually, like, I've learned, I'm, writing this content and I'm over a year and a half in, and I've learned a ton. So I do believe that it's not just for newly diagnosed patients. A lot of patients can benefit. We go through all the details of testing, biomarkers, scans, monitoring the different chemo drugs, and targeted drugs. That's all published already. We've got sections in the back just kind of waiting to be published, waiting to get approval and make sure everything's ready to go. Radiation, surgery, immunotherapy. We've got a section about what it's called diet and lifestyle. It's kind of just about living with cancer, kind of how to manage work and exercise and logistical issues. There's a section about for caregiver, for tips for caregivers. The list goes on, and there's constantly new stuff that we're coming up with. So that guide is really dynamic. It's, we've got constantly stuff being added to it. And
Hey,
then
Jennifer,
Lauren, go ahead.
So one of the things is unique about COLONTOWN University is it's actually available to anyone, and not just the patients and caregivers, where COLONTOWN, the community, is private and, a highly vetted process to get into the community. But this information is available to anyone. Can you tell me how COLONTOWN, the community, has helped to inform the content process of what you have available to the public?
Very much. So that's right. Exactly what Lindsay said. Literally anyone can go onto this website and get information. We have worked, what we really didn't want to do is just create another, cancer.gov for colorectal cancer. We really wanted this to come from a place of patient and caregivers. So we wanted patient-centric information. So basically, with every area that we created, the first thing that we did was we started with the content that we already had. So there's a ton of content that's been created by COLONTOWN leadership, by patients, by caregivers, that's actually in those Facebook groups. And was kind of getting lost, really, because people will post amazing stuff, and then you know how Facebook works, it gets lost in the news feed. And so part of the initial process is actually going into the groups, the relevant groups, and sort of finding bits and pieces of information to include. Not only that, for example, when we were doing the chemo side effects, it was really important for us to sort of sort out side effects that most patients experience, and then the laundry list of 503 side effects that you might be given by your oncologist, that ranges from, shortness of breath to death. It's like, okay, so which ones of these are, am I actually going to have? And so we created a series of polls within COLONTOWN to help identify that amongst real patients, scrolling through posts to gather that as well, like the qualitative information, texting and emailing with people individually to get more information. So, it's real information coming from real patients. We also have identified particular patients and also volunteers to write what we call patient perspectives or caregiver perspectives. And that's, little sort of snippet of them talking about their experience with a certain aspect related to colorectal cancer. It could be their experience on a certain chemo drug. It could be their experience living with an ostomy, working or traveling while having stage 4 cancer. And so that was an integral part of the process as well, along with we've got a series of video interviews that we're doing now with some of the volunteers, the admins that host the different groups, to kind of publicize those groups and give people an idea of the different things that kind of go on and the different things that people talk about. So pretty exciting. And not only that, there's like a lot of other learning centers. I mean, I've been talking about CRC 101 for ages because that's what I've been working on, but there's so much other content on there. There's a lecture hall where Manju, our scientific director, does interviews with doctors and oncologists. And there's a section on clinical trials, precision medicine. And this is information. I mean, I've watched these videos. It's information that you're not just going to get on the internet, not in a way that's easily to digest and easily to understand. So, yeah, it's a really, really fantastic resource for people if you're newly diagnosed or if you're not.
Yeah. I'm just blown away when Jennifer says it's dynamic and constantly adding new content. It is like, I cannot keep up with the new things that are getting put into CTU weekly. And I know that there's a ton of work and time and extreme care taken in making sure that the information is relevant, useful, accurate, and also, while it's patient informed, it's also not still protects the privacy of the patients who are going through the struggle. So it's really, I mean, there's nothing like it out there. It's completely unique. And again, something I wish I had when I first got started, but I'm so grateful that we have it to offer patients moving forward. Thank you so much, Jen, for sharing with us.
You're welcome.
You've seen the link up there for CTU. That's our short letters for COLONTOWN University. Abbreviation, I think they call it. You have to deal with my chemo brain sometimes. Short letters.
Yeah, mine too.
But feel free to share that with your oncologists, with your teams, with family members who are, maybe they haven't been diagnosed, but they're worried about symptoms. There are things in there that might be helpful. I mean, share away, share. Let's make the resource available to anybody who could use it. The videos in there with the doctors are incredibly valuable. They're top-notch doctors in the field that have information specifically for COLONTOWN. It's just amazing. Okay, I think we are ready for our next. I'm bringing two guests on at one time, and they can be a little wild. So,
Hi.
I've referenced EPL a couple times. Again, that's the short letters or abbreviation for our Empowered Patient Leader Training. And so I brought one of our recent participants and one of the leaders that helps organize and run our Empowered Patient Leader trainings. This is one of our longer standing programs in COLONTOWN. It was one of the first programs I came in contact with as a patient, and it literally changed the course of my treatment. Like y'all, I live in Eastern Kentucky, and sometimes I hide where, the accent a little bit because I'm not really from there, but I've taken it on a little bit. But I was deer in headlights and I didn't know what was going on. I decided to go to Boston for this Empowered Patient Leader training in 2019. And I sat there like this the whole time. And I was just overwhelmed, like immersed with information. Like it was like an intensive weekend. It was everything COLONTOWN was, but in an intensive weekend. And I realized that I had a chance. I realized that I could advocate for my care, and I could, I had other options than what I was doing. It totally changed everything for me, everything. So it's a passion of mine. Maybe I'm getting a little too animated about it because it's one of my personal passions. But when we used to do them in person, when COVID happened, we pivoted and went virtual. We've had some international trainings for our international participants. We have standard also. And we're planning now that COVID is COVID's still a thing, and we're trying to take precautions and prepare for in-person trainings again. That's something that we hope to do down the road. But I've talked enough as usual. I get a little mouthy. I need like a timer, somebody to shut me up sometimes. But I want to thank, we have Jessica Beets and Jennifer Bass. Jennifer Bass has been helping with the, helping create the content, moderate the lessons. We have a team of 4 or 5 folks that help make the EPL sessions happen. It seems to like never stop. We just keep going year round because we constantly have patients that need the resources. And this is the training that we use to kind of cultivate leaders within the community. So Jen is one of the leaders, and Jessica just went through one of our recent trainings. So she's going to share a little bit, but we'll start with Jennifer. Jennifer, what made you decide to become involved in EPL?
Oh my gosh, I wanted to give back to the community that was there for me. Like, I was ready. I feel like it was very healing to, it gave me a reason why I got this whole diagnosis, why I was diagnosed at 36 with stage 3 colon cancer. So it was another way to help people. And I started off, I went through the EPL program. I was one of the first virtual people to went through. And then I was admin. I am an admin for 3 of the groups. And then I was asked to be one of the leaders. And I love it. I love meeting new people. I love training people, getting people ready for the different things that go on in COLONTOWN. So, and there's a lot.
Good, bad, and the things that make you go.
Yeah. The secret sauce that keeps us together, right?
That's right. So yeah, Jennifer was one of the first virtual EPL graduates and now is helping to keep it going. I love that we have a constant stream of people. A lot of organizations struggle to find volunteers. That's not a problem in COLONTOWN. We always have people that are raising their hands and wanting to step up. And it's not easy work. It's hard work. I mean, we have fun too. We make it fun. We have a good time, but we, work hard, play hard. That's part of what we do, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Jessica recently joined our EPL program, and
I did.
What made you sign up for virtual EPL?
So, I guess I just really wanted to help people. It was super hard for me to adjust to my diagnosis, and I didn't really. So I was diagnosed last year, right actually around this time, with stage 3B, and it took me probably halfway through chemo to find COLONTOWN. I was actually in California, and I ended up having some blood clots, and I was laying there in the hospital bed and just completely stressed out. And I was like, I need help with this. Like, I can't do this alone. I can't do this alone. So I started, feverishly searching the internet for help and Facebook. And I wasn't super active on social media. And I found COLONTOWN, and it just completely changed everything. And, I was the lucky one, I guess you could say, to be stage 3B. And I think, I wanted to, being involved in COLONTOWN and doing EPL helps me sort of deal with those feelings, because I feel lucky, and I just want to, pay it forward sort of and help other people kind of get through it. And I just really like the community. Everybody's so nice, and I feel like I have friends all over the country, and it's just nice to be able to help people and help them through the process. And I said to myself, if I make it through this, I'm going to do that. So that's kind of what inspired me, just helping others.
EPL is one of the ways that we can connect on a deeper level. There are about 7,000 members of COLONTOWN. So sometimes it's hard. One of the important things, though, to our community is the personal relationships. And so one of the things that by participating in the Empowered Patient Leader training, we get to know each other at another level, and we get to be a part of each other's story and connect with people at a deeper level. And then we try to take what we have learned from that experience and foster those in the groups that we are helping to admin or host in the different communities. So one of the things, I've really connected with Jessica, and there was another woman in that group named Lois, and we're from all different parts of the United States, different ages, different stages, different things. But we've connected really well. And so we continue to have chats, we have video calls, and this is the power of COLONTOWN. You find your people, you find people that are there for you and here for you and with you. And I think that's part of what we try to do. We try to throw all kinds of information. Like I said, I was in deer in headlights. But it also, I wasn't alone, and I'm not alone now. Even though I have a leadership position, I have people that are always with me. Like if I'm having a bad day, I just message or call one of my people and they.
Yep. Or you can find your like a particular, I love the neighborhoods in COLONTOWN. So like whatever thought pops into your head, there's a neighborhood for it. And you can kind of, and there's always somebody there to respond to you that understands what you're talking about. It's just a great community. And I just love being involved in it.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much for being willing to share a little bit. I know, as usual, I talk too much during the EPL. I was supposed to be letting you guys talk. You know how I am. All right. I love you all. And
Love you
we
too.
have, more empowered patient leader trainings coming. So look for those postings in the community. If you're in the community and you'd like to be involved in leadership, we kind of keep them going on a rotating basis. And our last but not least guest is Julie Clower. She's going to be joining us to talk about our programs on trials, clinical trials. Julie actually helped get the EPL program. She kind of created everything for the virtual EPL program when we first started going virtual, and is one of the people that I've worked with closely over the last couple years. She puts up with a lot of malarkey from me.
And vice versa.
And we love each other more for it. So makes each other better. Thank you for joining us. And, I keep saying this, but clinical trials information, that's like, you're speaking another language when you speak clinical trials to me. Like I felt like I gained a ton of resources in the first couple years I was in the community, but trials still are overwhelming and scary to me, if I'm completely honest. So, Julie and Steve work closely together, and there are lots of volunteers in the trials community that try to help curate trials and bring knowledge about how patients can navigate trials. So we're going to talk to Julie a little bit about that. Julie, what kind of clinical trial information is available in COLONTOWN?
So COLONTOWN, I think, has multiple kind of paths into clinical trials because, like you said, Lindsay, it's so confusing. There's so many. And even, specialist oncologists don't necessarily know all the trials that will work for every patient because they're so, specific. They're at institutions all across the country or world. So really having patients be experts on themselves is really critical. So they don't need to be experts on the science. We do have information to help people understand the science behind the trials, but really what we try to do is help make sure patients are experts on themselves and get to the point where they can help bring things to their oncologist who does have that science understanding or can, access it from other people to be able to understand what trials might be great for them. So it's really a two-way, conversation. So, the clinical trials, we have a few different ways that we support people with clinical trials. One is we have clinical trial neighborhoods. I think we have 9 of them right now. And they range based on different targeted therapies or, different biomarkers. So depending on what your tumor profile is, you would be in, 1 to multiple different clinical trial neighborhoods so that those clinical trial neighborhoods can really discuss trials relevant to your set, your cancer and what's going on with you. And in those groups, we have a couple of things. One is notifications of new trials, interesting trials, trials that have been reported on at conferences or elsewhere. We have patient advocates that go to those conferences, bring back information. We also have very active members who are amazing, who, you know, really do understand what's happening with clinical trials, so they can make people aware of what trials are going on. If you look at clinicaltrials.gov, there's like 50,000 trials, and obviously those aren't all for colorectal cancer, but you know, even narrowing down, you know, there's hundreds of potential trials. So how do we help, you know, kind of bring those to light so people know which ones could be more relevant for them? So that's first. Second would be peer experiences. So we do that informally with people just asking, saying, hey, I was on this trial, you know, or has anybody been on this trial or looked into it, so that people can share experiences back and forth. And obviously with any trial or any treatment, everyone's experience is going to be different, but understanding, oh, someone's been through this. So if something is a, you know, first in human trial for the drugs, that's really scary as a patient. But when you're in COLONTOWN and there's actually another first in human patient out there that is able to converse with you about it, it doesn't seem, you know, quite as scary. So being able to have that conversation, know that it's like real people doing these trials, and, you know, kind of what their experience has been, is really powerful. And then we have more formally, we have what's called the Atlanta Project. It's named after a patient who, when she was looking at trials, she wanted to know, like, who's been on these trials? What's it been like? So she started gathering information. And now we have a wonderful patient named Tracy Riddle, who collects information from patients in COLONTOWN who have been on trials and update on what happened on the trial. What were their side effects? What was their outcome, et cetera? What was their experience? So if someone's looking at a trial, they can find that information. It's anonymous in that case, so you don't know who the person is. But again, just having that knowledge of, you know, a real person went through this and a real person is sharing their experience is very, I think, calming and, you know, helpful, and also helps people identify questions to ask about the trial. So we have that. So patient perspectives on trials. We also have patient perspectives on experience, you know, on I'm going to be traveling. How do I do that? You know, like the things that are kind of the logistics behind trials, and how does that work? That's really, really, I think, important to understanding the process, because, you know, getting to, how do I get to the person to talk to about this trial if it's not at my institution? Do I go through my oncologist? Do I reach out directly? Those are kinds of things that none of us actually know how to do until we've actually gone through it. So helping each other with kind of the clinical trial process, you know, would be another piece of what we do. We also have in COLONTOWN University, that Jennifer talked about earlier, Manju George, our scientific director, has clinical trial PIs talk about their trials. And so you can get a deep dive if you're not at a conference or there's no reported data, just understanding the trial better. And then we also have posts in there in COLONTOWN University where we've kind of made them more patient-centric. So when you look at listings in clinicaltrials.gov, they really are listed for, you know, other researchers. And so as a patient, it's very easy to get lost in some of the details. So how do we present trials forward in a way that's, you know, IRB approved, which means, you know, like it's telling the information that needs to tell, you know, in an ethical way, but in a way that patients can really understand and kind of assess if it's for them. So those are kind of the range of, I think, information we have. But we also are involved in clinical trials in other ways. For instance, I serve on a colon cancer task force. We also have somebody on the rectal cancer task force of the NCI who are reviewing trials and providing patient input into them before they become trials. So really when they're concepts, and using the information in people in COLONTOWN to say, would this be something you'd be interested in, kind of conversations, really allows like a mass amount of patients to engage and provide input to make these trials better for patients, either more practical, you know, kind of easier to enroll, or, you know, better arms of delivery. So those are kind of the range of how we engage in clinical trials. It's a big part of what we talk about and do. We also are working on some training to help people in terms of finding a trial that's right for them. And there's a lot of great tools out there. There's patient navigators, you know, that you can hire, that you can engage with through, you know, organizations, which is fantastic. But you still have to be the knowledge of yourself and know what do you want, so you can be more effective in understanding how those tools work. So it's helping the training, which we're again working on now, will help people be able to use those tools effectively for themselves.
Julie, I gave Julie the meatiest subject in the least amount of time because I put her at the end, so she had to speed race through it. But I appreciate you sharing so much about the clinical trials. Like one of the things I love about the clinical trials neighborhood, because personally it's my weak point in knowledge base. Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't know if I'm unique, but there's no like judgment.
Yeah.
I can go there and be like, look, I really don't understand what my oncologist is saying about this. Can somebody help translate the doctor talk to something I can easily digest? And it's not perfect. We're not, there's no like, there's no like perfect answer, but at least are people that are willing to walk through the discussion I've had with my doctor and help me to understand pieces of it. And, give me the tools to help me navigate it on my own. Also, like, it's one of those things, I'm a fiercely independent person. So I want to navigate it, but I want to have the tools, and the trials groups really help me to do that. And I appreciate, we have a ton of volunteers and folks that are working hard to make that content available to folks. And I'm always grateful for that. So
and we're also so curious. A lot of people in those groups are really curious. So even if it has nothing to do with what I'm going through, I want to know, like, what is this trial about? And so I think, that energy helps, each other, because we're trying to, understand things for each other all the time.
And it's something that we can help share with, the more I learn, it's something I can help other folks. Like I said earlier, it's like, it's a community, it's a relationship. So as I learn, I can help others who, find themselves in similar situations. And so, or at least connect, we have some people in the community who are amazing at remembering who would have that experience, and they can tag and connect the people with the right people. Because in a group of 7,000 people, being able to find the person that has an experience that might benefit your knowledge is important. So it's part of what we do. Thank you, Julie, so much for sharing. And there's so much more. I wish we could go on for days and days, because I love talking about our programs. But we will cut it short now, and hopefully we'll do another rally and have some more information and updates on the things that we've talked about today. I want to thank everybody who has watched and participated and joined, donated. Just please keep sharing. This link will be on the Facebook page, posted to the Facebook page. Keep sharing with your community, with your friends, because as much as we don't, like I said, we don't want people to need the resource of COLONTOWN. If you do need it, it's a powerful tool, and we want it to be available to anybody who does need it. So thank you again so much for joining us. And I look forward to updating y'all more. Keep following our Facebook page. Keep following, the website in COLONTOWN University and things like that for updates on things that are going on in COLONTOWN through Powtown. Thank you all.